Happy day. Today's module is on storyboarding. When we think of films, or rather any visual production, we think of the way that we have seen it. The way it has been imagined by the creator of the film and how it has been presented to us. Now these visuals, when they are lined up as a sequence, they come out perfectly, consistently the same way like it was imagined by the director and laid out beautifully in front of our eyes. What does this mean? There should have been some proper planning behind it. When an idea is created and logically, sequentially arranged the way it has been, it means that the unwanted details or the inconsistent details have already been sifted out. So there has been a planning in the arrangement of these visuals. Like writing a script, how it acts as a blueprint for the production, the storyboard also acts like a well laid out plan before creating these visuals. When we create a visual, from the process of ideation to actually filming it, we know that it has been laid out with a proper plan, and that is the storyboarding part of it. Storyboard has already been in existence from 1930s. Howard Hughes and also Walt Disney from 1930s in their films Hell's Angels and also Three Little Pigs have made use of the storyboard. Not much or not completely done, but still they have been used. But this film that came out in 1939, that's Gone with the Wind, has used a completely laid out, well-structured storyboard so they could visualize it or rather pre-visualize it much before they went into the actual recording. So what exactly is this storyboard? What do they do? They have the script in hand, the director knows very well what he wants to record, and the cinematographer is there to help him out to bring out the visual onto the screen. But how does this work? Why do we need this? Isn't it a waste of time when I already know the script in my mind as a director as to what I want? No, it actually saves much time. In fact, it lets the others understand what is in your mind that you want to create for your audience to watch. A storyboard is a graphic organizer that consists of illustrations or images displayed in a sequence for the purpose of pre-visualizing a motion picture, animation, motion graphic, or interactive media sequence. So, the story that is there in your mind is well established in the minds of others as well by the use of this storyboard. It's a pre-visualizing method where you sequentially lay out the sequences on a panel, unfolding shot after shot, sequence after sequence, which explains clearly in the form of visuals to the entire creative team that is going to be working in the production process. So when it's laid out well, it clears most of the doubts as to what is in your head as a director, what do you want to bring out to the visual or to the entire production clearly and makes it more organized. When you pre-visualize what you want through the help of this storyboard method, it is a very good method to tell you what is not required or what are the details that needs to be concentrated on. In the layout, when you understand that there are certain aspects or angles or movements or even props that we use are important in that particular shot. When you draw it out in your storyboard, it clearly tells you that you need to take an extra effort to get that done. So you could organize your work well. There might be certain sequences that was not necessary at all because in your storyboard you see it that it's not required to plan it that way. You could not shoot them. Saves your time during your production. Okay. This is a storyboard that's drawn out. There are many different ways in which storyboards are done. Few examples of how they could be done. Not everyone requires a well-structured storyboard that has to be drawn neatly, has to be organized well enough so that it is a clear, presentation. A storyboard is a tool that explains how things can work in a production. So for that, it could be drawn anyway, either hand-drawn or it could be digitally drawn as well. A few examples of how it could be done. What do we do? Now when we know that we require a storyboard, there needs to be a need. Everybody needs to look at a blueprint, like how they look at a script, to understand how this has been done. Why? The most important steps involved in a film, it helps you to organize your thoughts. As the creator, it helps you to tell the creative team what exactly you are expecting in the output. And it helps you share your vision. The way you're going to be organizing them, the way you put your shots is a way of telling people how precisely that you're expecting your output to be. And also you come across as a well-planned and organized person to your team so they know they are in for serious business. Identifying the problems early. Like I said earlier, when you know these shots are your requirements, you know how exactly to get them produced. You know what are the material or what are the things that you need to get ready, who are the people that are involved in those particular shot, and what is the background about. So planning for it becomes much easier. And also when you identify your problems, you know what is not the requirement. So what need not be, you don't have to spend time shooting it. Reducing production hassles. So if the production plan is well sorted out as your storyboard, in your storyboard, on the flow while you're shooting, you do not take much time in concentrating on the ones that are not necessary at all. It saves a lot of time because you're well organized and planned with what exactly you want to shoot. No more extra shots, just ready with what is required to convey your thought and emotion of the story through those shots. And then finally, if all of this is done, it simplifies everything in terms of production, in terms of coordinating with people, and in terms of the money, energy, and the budget. Okay. It could be as detailed as what you want in the background, what effects that you read. It could be laid out as panels such as these. Now, the one that you're seeing here, there will be blood. You're actually showing out, laying out the shots in a sequence. Shot 1, shot 2, shot 3. Equally, in the panel, you're able to say exactly how the action moves from every single shot. So you know when you're including those emotions, the movement, the way the character is going to be shown, all of it is conveyed, and the script is always there to tell you what exactly happens in terms of the audio. Yes. How do we create a storyboard? What are the necessities for creating a good storyboard? A good storyboard can convey the information either in rough sketches, figures, or computer-generated drawings, which could be a little more better and convenient to work on, but ultimately all of it needs to be in a very good, understandable manner. How do we do that? Basic elements of a storyboard, like it needs to have a panel, a well-charted panel which dedicates space for the drawing, for the illustration, and some space for the description that we're going to be writing. So the panel is the space where your shot is actually drawn out, and then we have a shot number. Like we saw in the previous slide, there's going to be shot numbers that are given. Every shot has its own number, which is the sequential order that you're able to give as reference for your the cinematographer or anyone else to understand what is there in your storyboard. And there goes the action. What happens inside that action in that shot? Who is the performer? What do they do? So there is details about that as well. Then you need to have all the technical details. Now this is a lot of information. If you're very particular about it, you'll have to mention the camera angle, the movement. It could be what kind of shot it is. What do they do in that shot? If you have a special effect or a reaction to a sound that has happened, all of those details need to be mentioned there. Anyone who reads a storyboard, who looks into the diagram, should understand what exactly happens in that visual. Then the description panel. This is where exactly you write the short details. A brief description like how you write in your screenplay needs to be here as well to coordinate whatever that you write along with the panel that they see, the diagram. And then the arrangement. When we speak of arrangement, there are different ways in which shots could be arranged. Like panels, like these, arranged next to each other sequentially from left to right, you could see how they function. Or it could be like a comic strip where you see the concentration is more on the action. So one after the other you get to see. There is a linear pattern as well. So shots are arranged one after the other in a vertical linear pattern. And when there are parallel shots, when you're showing two different locations where parallel shots happen, you're going to be showing them side by side. That's another way of arranging these shots. Then again, we have the comic strip types. Yeah, like I explained, the comic strip types also happen. It's going to be either laid out on a single sheet like these, panels after panels, or it could be linear, one panel and the description by the side, or the face, the page that's facing this. That also is another way of doing this. Like this, like I mentioned, the actions, even the way the shots are going to transform from one shot to another, the kind of transition that you'll be using in between, especially when it's an action-paced film, you can include those transitions in between to make it even more interesting. Okay. When you're showing movement from one shot to another, make sure to include arrow marks, make sure to include directions which will show from where to where the character moves or how the transition happens from one shot to another. That's particularly more elaborately mentioning what is going to happen. Yes. This is from inception. If you would have watched the film, you would understand how the entire sequence moves. The way you place your eye contact to the shot, it just grabs your attention inside, moving from layers to layer. And you do that without even understanding there has been a cut or there has been a transition in between. Drawing a storyboard for that must have been really difficult. The way it was drawn is like how you see it here. So they fix it from an angle. From that angle, they've taken every single shot showing how the movement flows. The panel way of drawing it with the details under that, and especially numbering it, giving the thumbnails a number which will be your short references. Okay. This is from the film Sound of Music. If you see, a lot of symmetry pattern has worked in this. Drawing something like this is the best way to pre-visualize whether it will be understood right. The audience will be able to retain the interest and fall for the visuals that you have given them. Shooting something like this is not easy, because when there is going to be shots that involve a lot of patterns, geometrical patterns, and lot of symmetries, you need to be careful not to confuse the audience. So laying it out well in a storyboard helps you visualize how neatly it's going to come with the property, with the location, with the people, so you can shoot them easily. This is from the famous film Hitchcock's Psycho. Neatly, elaborately done, every single shot after shot, where it explains, or rather it builds the intense emotion in every single shot, and it makes us believe that the character is, stabbed and dead. The way it is laid out over here is exactly what you see in the film, giving it this, real feel that the stabbing was real. Edge of Tomorrow, one more example to show how the action takes place in storyboard. This is Percy Jackson. All the important details that need to be included has to be there alongside the storyboard. Okay. When we are drawing, especially when that involves camera movements, you have to zoom in or you have to dolly in, make sure to include those two inside your storyboard. Yes. Now, if we are going to be creating a storyboard for your short film or for your film, how do we do it? What are the best ways that we can do it? Concentrate on giving a visual form to your ideas. The story is in your mind. You've already visualized it inside your mind. You just need to convey it rightly to the person that is going to be filming it. The entire crew, that is. So make sure that you convey all of those visual ideas that's there in your mind to the people. So start concentrating on the visual. If you see it, so it shall be drawn. Mention the directions, the movement in which the character as well as the camera has to go. What needs to be seen. So if you see it that way in your mind, go ahead and draw it. Numbering it is very important, because it's just not a few sheets that you're drawing. Depending upon how large your production is, meaning how lengthy your production is, that many visuals needs to be drawn. Again, not all shots are drawn. It's only the reference shots and the important ones that you could keep. So referencing, putting the number for them is what is required, which is essential when you're going to be organizing them together. Use a pencil, definitely, you're going to be making changes, and as and when you discuss with your team, you're going to be making changes in it. When a particular shot in the sequential alignment is not understood well by the research or by the team that you're working with, you can easily erase or you can easily shift them to make the sequential order more understandable. And experiment before you finalize your storyboard. You have this entire reference board right in front of you with all the shots drawn, so you know how to experiment back and forth with rearranging these shots. If it makes sense, then we go ahead shooting. Yes. A panel, the basic template that you could use to enter your scene number, your shot number, drawing, and the description just below that, one after the other. Okay. If you see these examples, they are pretty neat diagrams which explains what happens with the character, like how you read a comic strip or comic book. So you know the character and its actions. A detailed description along with these shots would help everyone understand what happens in the story. Okay. Who does all of this? A storyboard artist. What is their job? Once you visualize it, you're narrating it to them, or you could be the director as well as the person who's visualizing it. A storyboard artist is going to take the story, create sketches or frames of the story for you. So they could be easy, quick pencil sketches, or it could happen on a digital board or a graphic tablet too. Simply putting down the details into panels, sequentially arranging them to make it understandable by the entire crew. Most storyboard artists begin and finish their work completely on the computer using a software or digital pencils or graphic tablet. What do? Sometimes if they don't draw, if there is going to be actual pictures of a photo shoot that you've done, if you have the pictures and if they convey the story enough, they could be arranged to create a visual storyboard. Photos are taken specifically for the project, so you know you've done it for this project. They could have acted it out. They could have been there, practicing the entire schedule. So you could have taken pictures. You simply arrange them to create a meaningful storyboard. Yes. Before we finish, I'd like to reiterate that a storyboard is an important pre-visualizing technique or a method that we use to inform or rather keep our entire crew known about what we are in for the production. If it is well organized and sequentially arranged, it gives a clear picture in the minds of all of them who are involved in the production process. It's a way that you can organize and quickly, saving budget, time and energy, finish your project in the way it is planned in your head as a director. Thank you.